Hello guys, Harden here, back with another Eve Echoes video, first one in a little while. I thought I would do this one today because I have finally got hold of the new Navy Raven, which was through completing the event box. Got that today finally, and I thought I'd kind of do a quick rundown of how I've set that up for the AI missions and give you a bit of an example of how I use it or how it can run through those missions. So first let's jump in and have a look at the fitting and the kind of key facts for this one. So let's click on first of all on this Raven Navy issue here so you can see what the bonuses are. So here you can see the roll bonus is 10% large missile torpedo activation time, minus 10% control reactivation delay, and plus 10 seconds damage control activation time. Then you've got expert large missile torpedo, which fortunately I had already trained up. I was only getting like a 2% bonus from it on my previous Raven, my Raven Striker, but here you get a nice meaty 22% extra for each level. So there's quite a nice bonus there. So you can see I trained that one up already. This is the only one that I haven't, the only expert one that I haven't got to 5 yet, which is the expert battleship command, which gives you an extra 5% flight velocity. But again, that's not really a priority. Battleships are not that fast anyway. You don't really need that much speed with them in most cases, and particularly the Raven is not particularly fast. So maybe at some point when I'm running out of other skills to train, I will train that up to 5, but right now it's not a priority. Then you've got expert electronic warfare bonus, which I did have. So it gives you an extra 5% scan resolution and a bit extra 5% sensor strength. So then I'll jump into the actual ship and the fitting here. Now, just to explain, this DPS obviously is cold, and this DPS is using Rapids, which Rapids are the kind of lowest DPS missile type, although they do have the best kind of damage application, and certainly in terms of the AI missions I found that they're the best weapon type for, well, best missile weapon for the AI missions. But you can see here obviously with Rapids I'm already getting 3,208. So how does that compare to the Raven Striker? Well, this exact same setup was giving me approximately 2,800 DPS. So there's basically a 300 DPS increase, and that is the same across all three of my accounts. They're all kind of set up slightly different, but basically at the end of the day, after I switched from the Raven Striker to the Navy issue, basically the DPS jumped up by about 300, which is approximately 10%. So and again, you have to bear in mind that I do have that expert skill at 5. So actually the percentage-wise increase over the Raven Striker would not actually be that much if I hadn't already had that skill. In fact, it might be completely negligible if I hadn't already got that skill trained to level 5. But as it stands, I do, and as it stands, it's 10%. But what I found is in practice, that 10% has made a huge difference in terms of how quickly and safely my Raven is clearing the AI missions. Now, again, want to put a rider on this, the Raven is probably not the optimal choice if you're going to be running AI missions. Probably I've seen people with very nasty Balgon setups. The APOC is still a great choice. But I wanted to kind of make a Raven that was at least kind of competitive to a certain extent, and I think this certainly is, particularly after they introduced the missile skills. That has also improved things. So anyway, you can see I've got a set of Rapids here, which actually is, some of them are B types. I have been buying those off the market every now and again when they become available. So you can see there's I think there's 5 B types on there, which also helps with the DPS. In the mid slots, you've got 3 target painters, and again, this is primarily because the AI just likes to use the mid slots randomly, but for some reason, even though I warp in at 0, the AI always moves out to distance, and normally moves out to a distance where the scrambler web of fire doesn't actually have any effect, doesn't do anything. So I'd rather have the target painters, which actually have some kind of effect, even though it's probably minimal by the time you're looking at the third one. Then I've got a salvager, which I haven't trained the skills for. This is just a basic salvager, 10 kilometers, doesn't really collect all that much loot, but does collect some. So when I'm just kind of AFKing it, then you do at least get a little bit of loot. And then in terms of the low slots here, It is basically one large shield booster, one large shield hardener, and then four damage controls. Which I think, as you can see with my missile skills, I've already got those maxed. And now, theoretically, there is this extra 10 seconds that comes from using the Navy issue, but I haven't really noticed that actually in flight. In terms of my implant, it's the Thermomagnetic 2. And if you hold on a second, there we go. So you can see the Thermomagnetic 2, which the kind of first level, it's got the missile torpedo damage, some additional torpedo damage, capacitor, missile additional thermal damage, additional kinetic damage, and then if I go to the new attributes, you can see there's additional kinetic damage. Now, my warhead charge is only level. My implant is only 25. Once I get that to level 30, I will be able to go into the mode that actually applies all that extra kinetic damage. And you can see there's kinetic damage there, and there's kinetic damage here as well at the bottom here. So there's an extra nearly 30%. So once I'm able to get my warhead charge implant to level 30, and I'm able to activate that mode, that should kind of add very nicely to the DPS. So that's the kind of implant that I'm using. And then I'll jump backwards here. And the final thing is rigs. So you can see here I've gone for a mixture of rigs. The capacitor rigs are all just kind of, well, you can see here one is a capacitor control 4, then I've got a semiconductor 4, and then another capacitor control 3. I will eventually replace that capacitor control with 4 once I have a bit of spare cash. And again, that is actually kind of does run the ship kind of very stable. Since I started using this, practicing this today, I didn't notice my cap drop below like 50-60%, so it kind of runs everything nicely. Now, more interesting is probably my rigs on this side. Now, I have, and to be honest, I have lost actually quite a few Ravens doing the AI missions, not because they're actually failing the missions themselves, because they can actually do them very, very easily, and the issues have been things where basically I've overlapped with the daily usage limit. There was issues with the timer running out at the wrong time. There were a few occasions where I just looked away, came back, and like for some reason the ship just wasn't doing anything. So I have lost a few ships. So I did have full integrated, but basically I decided I'm going to go for a kind of cheaper option. So I've only integrated the combat rigs because they're cheaper. I mean, obviously if you try and do, the semiconductors are hideous, or the capacitor controls are hideously expensive. So if you're trying to replace, I think it was like 18 of those, you're going to run out of cash very, very quickly. What I've done on the combat integrated rigs is this. You can see here, so for this one, if I click on it, you can see this is standard shield stuff. It's not the most expensive rigs on the shield side. The defense core defense charge economizer gives a 24% shield boost amount, and the operation solidifier does an activation of about 25%. I find this is actually very good for AI missions. This combo is very good for AI missions because obviously AI is running the shield constantly. The key thing here is obviously making sure you have cap, but basically the shield booster is providing extra shield boost, and it's activating that much more often, so it's very, very difficult for the NPCs to kind of break your tank with this in any way. Again, you just have to make sure your ship is cap stable, because it will be running through the cap much quicker. The second integrated here, click on here, is the Warhead Rigger Catalyst and the Warhead Flare Catalyst. So these ones I kind of played around with and experimented. The Warhead Rigger Catalyst, you can see what that does is it decreases the explosion radius bonus, and I always get mixed up with these missile, the radius bonus and everything else. The radius bonus is how precise your missile is, so the smaller that number, the better. So that reduces, again, this kind of rig reduces that by 11.2%, but the real reason I picked it was it's a very cheap rig. I think it's just something like 900,000 or 1 million per per one. So if you're putting 6 of these in, you're only spending about 6 million. It's not something that you're going to lose too much if you actually do lose the ship at some point. Similarly, the Warhead Flare Catalyst is another one that kind of just basically helps apply a little bit more damage. In this case, it's the Explosion Velocity bonus, which basically the explosion velocity, how it works is it's based on the target speed. You want your explosion velocity to be as high as possible, because the closer it is to the speed of the target, the more damage that is going to apply. Now, the sad thing is missiles have a very bad, the large missiles have a very bad base explosion velocity, but this does still help, and I'll show you if I jump now into the go back into the missiles here. I will show you here on one of the B types. Here, so you can see here the two key ones here is the explosion velocity, which is 81.6 meters. So basically, if the target is moving at 81 kilometers a second, or 81 meters a second or slower, your missile should be, in theory, able to apply full damage to the target. So 81 meters a second is not very fast. This is why missiles in siege mode again, because there's not in siege mode, but missiles are very good for applying damage to stationary targets, but they're not very good at applying damage to larger targets. But again, with the bonuses from the new missile skills, with the bonuses in the rigs, I've bumped that up to 81. I think it starts in the region about 60 or 75, so it's only like a 10 to 15 kilometer difference, but it kind of does help a little bit. So, and again, it's a very cheap rig to put in there. The more important one is the explosion radius. And basically, the smaller you can get that, the better. It's the more precise your missile is, and again, the lower that is, the more damage it will apply, especially to smaller ships. Again, rapids already start. I can't remember what a standard rapid is before you actually put it on the ship. But let me just see if I've got one in my hangar here. A second, just to show you. Hold on here. Yeah, I do. Okay, so if I click on here. So this is one that's not fitted. You can see here the explosion radius is 140 meters. So mine is now down to 61, which is about half that. So 140, if I compare that now to, let's say, a missile launcher, standard missile launcher, that explosion radius is 330. So again, it's great for hitting large ships, but is terrible against smaller ships. And then finally, if I've got a torpedo launcher here, yes I do. On the torpedo launcher, and here you can see the explosion radius is 450. So on this ship, the explosion radius is now down to 61, which actually compares quite favorably to some of the medium weapon types. I wonder if I've got one here. Okay, so here's a medium rapid, and you can see here the explosion radius is 40 meters. So I haven't quite got there with the rapids, but it's not far off being able to apply the same kind of damage as a medium rapid missile launcher, which everyone knows is one of the best launchers against smaller types of smaller ships. So and I'm getting that with the rapids. So what I have found with this ship is that since I've upgraded to the Navy Raven, even though the on paper DPS is only that extra 10%, what I've been finding is that in reality it's actually been applying a lot better, and I don't know why the difference is, because I had the same kind of rig setup on the other ship, but maybe that extra 10% tips the balance somehow. I'm not quite sure why it feels a lot quicker than the Raven Striker. But what I'll do now is I'm going to jump into a actually I'll do one other thing before we do anything else. I'll just actually no, I'll save that for another time. Let me just check my encounters here. Okay, so these have just run out. Let me well, okay, what I'll do is I'll just let the AI do it so you guys can see. So I'm going to undock here. I'm also happy that finally NetEase has fixed the timer, so it's not showing incorrect times, that it's not going, the timer that was on here was actually going faster than the actual timer shown on the fitting page. And this one actually seems quite accurate now, so it's showing 3.5 hours left. I didn't have a chance to really do this all day, but there you can see my fitting again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the AI now, and we'll just kind of follow on through a particular mission and see how that goes. Alright, let's see what gets selected. Yeah, so I only did about half of the missions today. Okay. What's going on here? Okay, it started to accept some missions. Most of them are 3 million bounties. Let's see which one it goes for first. I hope it's in this system, not next door. No, it is going next door. We'll go into the mission type so we can see which one is selected in a second. And yeah, one of the things I've noticed is with the Navy Raven, and again I'm not 100% sure why, because I was using the same missiles with the same kind of bonuses, the same kind of rigs on my Raven Striker, but I have noticed that with the Navy Raven, the smaller ships, it will just one shot, whereas before with the Striker it would be 2 or 3 shots, which obviously when you've got most of the ships in these missions are smaller ships, that kind of adds up over time. But with the Navy Raven, it seems to one shot the smaller ships a lot more often. Okay, so here we go. I'll just show you one mission so you can get a feel for it. It should only take about 10 minutes. Okay, so you can see here it's actually given us one of the tougher missions, which is the attack on Dulcia Foundry Fleet, which is the 3.5 million bounty mission. In the past, when I was using my Raven Striker, this was one of the ones where I would keep an eye on it, just in case the AI was playing silly buggers. Again, my Raven Striker could do it no problem by itself, but if for some reason the shields didn't activate or whatever, this one is very dangerous on the 3rd wave, because it actually has 2 battleships. I think it's an 8-ship wave, and it has 2 battleships on the last wave, and particularly if those were 2 Abaddons and an Oracle, it could actually put out a lot of DPS that would overwhelm the shield if you weren't clearing DPS off. So if you had a faulty AI that wasn't actually doing anything, then you could lose your ship to it quite easily. So here we go on this particular mission. It's going for the Armageddon. Oh no, it's going for the Executioner. So there you go. That Executioner, that was a one shot. Now my Raven Striker used to do that sometimes, but very, very rarely. Whereas I'm finding now with this ship and this setup, it basically will blap the smaller stuff very quickly, which is very handy for these AI missions. And on average, on the larger ships, doing about 11k per shot. Again, don't know why it's changed target there. There's the drones. Let's see how we go. There you go. One more blap straight away on that smaller ship, and then it switched back to the battleship. Another 11k hit. You can see here in terms of the implant, I'm just in the standard mode here. I'm not using any of the kind of special implant modes. The EM mode does increase the paper DPS slightly, but not in a huge amount, because basically this implant has bonuses to kinetic damages and has bonus to thermal damage. So if you switch onto the EM mode, on paper get slightly higher DPS, but you completely lose the EM and thermal bonuses that you're getting from the implant. So I don't turn that on. As I said, what I'm looking forward to is eventually getting the warhead charge and the standard implant. I've only got the basics, so I've pushed that to 25. So I want to get the warhead charge up to 30 when I can actually activate the kinetic focused thing, because I think that's going to really push the DPS a lot higher. But we shall see. I will do a video on that once I've got that. So there you go. The first wave didn't take too long. That was only a small one. Second wave, here. Should have timed this actually, but didn't think of that. But yeah, certainly anecdotally, the Navy Raven does seem to be a lot more effective doing this. And if you look at my shields there, you can see completely 100%, no issues at all. Again, it's only the final wave that ever did cause any issues on this one. And again, my capacitor there is on 72%. I can't remember what the Navy Raven in terms of the EHP was, but you can see here on this one it's 300,000, which I'm pretty sure is, and you can see this is not even a heavily tanked ship, this is one hardener and it's got 300,000 EHP. So you can see that the Navy Raven or the Raven Navy, if you actually do go with a tank setup, will be a very, very meaty opponent. And again, my AI is not even turning the shield and hardener on right now. Maybe it's just because there's not enough damage coming in, I don't know. Oh, there it goes. And let's have a look at the loot. Not much. As you can see, I don't know if anyone has can advise me in the comments. I do set the AI to warp in at 0, and kind of because I want it to be brawling mode, because that's pretty quick. I'll just show you here. If I go into this thing here and in here, you can see my AI settings here. So I've got high sec combat encounters, max jumps 1, cosmic anomaly warp distance is 0, but for some reason my ship will always move out, which is again why I think I mentioned it earlier, why I don't bother with Weber fires. Because basically they're always pretty much out of range. So well, the first wave normally could be in range, but and some of the smaller ships, but basically there's no point with the Weber fires, I find. Okay, so this is a Harbinger, and then there's a 12,000 hit on that on the structure, and then that's dead. And let's see this guy, is he going to be one shot? Let's have a look. There you go, one shot. So that is a definite improvement over the Raven Striker, because Raven Striker very, very rarely one-shot those smaller ships, and that makes a big difference in time. Again, obviously the Raven is not the optimal for doing this. You do have to wait for that missile flight time, which a lot of the other ships you don't have to wait for, so you're always going to be a little bit slower than those other ships. But again, with the AI, doesn't really matter too much, because you're not really looking for bounty ticks. It's more, especially with the AI, it's more kind of just being able to grind out those missions, albeit it is more efficient if you can do it quicker, because then you don't use as much of the amethyst fuel. So you can see here on this final wave, you can see there is one Abaddon, there's one Armageddon, and then a Harbinger. So it's not the kind of highest DPS group of enemies, but you can see here my tank again is sitting pretty much at 100%, not going down. My cap is at 58%, so it has gone down slightly from the start. There is a not a Nosferatu, what's the other one? Neutralizer on me, so maybe that's having some effect. So hopefully another 2 shots will kill this Abaddon. That's another 12k hit. No, maybe it might be 3. Okay, and now it's going on to one of the smaller ones, a Coercer, Destroyer. Let's see again if this is one shot. There you go, a 7k hit on that. So again, a very small target, very beefy damage. Here's an Executioner. All the missiles on, target painters not yet, but still a one hit on that. Here is a Dragoon, another Destroyer, I think. And again, that one was a 9k hit. Almost killed it, but not quite. I think probably if the target painters had been on, it would have gone down. And then now an Arbitrator Cruiser. Yeah, 12k hit on the cruiser, so pretty much one hit and it's down to almost down to structure. And there you go, so 2 hits on the cruiser. And then let's have a look at the Harbinger. That's 1 hit. So pretty much all the Streel ships, another 10k there, half armor, another 10k into structure. So 4, so 5 hits on the Harbinger, and that's dead. Another small one, Purifier, Bomber. Oh, there we go. And then finally the last Armageddon. So anyway, I hope that gives you an idea. You can see my tank is, well, my cap is back up to 61%. Tank is 100%. So definitely I'm liking this Navy Raven issue. It was definitely worth doing that event to get hold of this. And I'm looking forward to trying it in some of the dormant realms. Probably not going to use it in PvP for now anyway, because it's just too expensive a ship to lose. Particularly since this AI came in, I've lost quite a few ships through, as I said, through various misadventures, both mine and NetEase's fault, and my IP has been steadily declining, so I want to be a bit more careful for a while and try and build that back up again. Okay guys, that's it. I'll leave the ship to kind of do another mission, but I'm going to end the video here. So thank you for watching. If you did like this content and you are interested in anything Raven, feel free to like and subscribe, and feel free to make any comments. Again, I'm not like an expert at this game. Well, I am I've been playing it since the start, but there's still lots and lots of things I'm learning. So if there's anything that you can teach me, or anything that I've overlooked, or anything that could squeeze a bit more performance out of this ship, then by all means let me know in the comments, because again, even if it's not me, someone else might see it and get a good idea from that. So thank you very much for watching. Take care. Good night.